What did you say?
For Pete's sake! Oh, forget it.
Whippersnapper.
Somebody call security.
Well, back in my day... What did you say?
For Pete's sake! Oh, forget it.
Whippersnapper.
Hey!
What did you say?
For Pete's sake! Oh, forget it.
Whippersnapper.
Viewer discretion is advised. Go where no man has gone before.
In your face. It'll knock your socks off.
Broadcasting live from, 64 degree downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an Oscar. And as we all know, anything that's flashing stands for your host, me, Grumpy, and this asshole over here. So, Oh, shit. Hey, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. I'm really sorry to hear that. That explains why you weren't here last night. But hey, whatever. Health is more important than listening to this dickhead here. So. Plus, we're only going for an hour tonight anyway because I got something to do. And it's I got to do it between 8 and 9, so but if you got to go, or just listen in. You don't have to comment. Believe me, I know what it's like to be horribly ill.
Wow!
I guess with what I'm going to talk to, the best thing is, I'll tell you what, watching this goddamn Japanese food shows, holy shit. What them people eat for, everything is breakfast. 90% of the little shops, it's all breakfast. And it sometimes makes me wonder what they're eating for dinner. Because the one I just got through watching was a trucker's diner. It's not a truck stop. It's a trucker's diner. And what those guys eat for breakfast? Oh, God. The breakfast special at this trucker's diner was either stewed pig offal, fried wieners, and miso soup and rice, or you would have fried beef offal, fried wieners, fried eggs, and miso soup. How anybody can eat fried animal guts for breakfast? Oh, God. And them truckers, they were just scooping that shit up, too. Oh. The one called it a meal of vigor. I would call it a meal of vigorous puke. And it showed them getting the delivery of these miles of intestines. It was turning my stomach just watching him wash them, rinse them, cut them up. Oh, God. Oh, man. Talk about scary. Although they probably come over here and look at some of the food we eat and go, how can they eat that shit? It looked like Texas toast. It was real thick, sliced bread. And what they called the trucker's snack breakfast was this Texas toast, lightly toasted, smeared with ketchup, I'm trying to think what. They toasted the bread, they smeared it with ketchup. Oh, they put fried ground beef, a slice of, it looked like American cheese. I don't know what kind of cheese it was. They put that under the broiler to melt the cheese, then smothered in chopped green onions. And they called that the trucker's quick snack or snack breakfast. I was like, oh, Jesus. Ketchup bread with ground meat, melted cheese, and sliced green onion. And a lot of the truckers were ordering it to go. Because they said, the one guy had like 8 hours to drive, so he needed a snack. Ketchup bread, toasted ketchup bread with fried ground meat and melted cheese. Mmm. Not, although they probably look at a bagel and cream cheese and go, oh, them Americans eat some weird shit for breakfast. And then how they can eat raw fish. There was this raw fish breakfast dish, and it was all different types of raw fish. Blah. Although when I get a taste for sushi, and I go up and see my sushi master up at Gigantic Eaglet, he laughs at me when I tell him, no raw fish, no raw fish. Any seafood's got to be cooked. He just shakes his head. Matter of fact, I've been talking about going up there. I'm going to have to go up there. I haven't had sushi in probably, oh, God, when was the last time I was up there? God, it's got to be September or October. I'm going to have to run up there and get me some. And hopefully he won't be too busy so we can chat a little bit. Although I'll tell you, I cannot see being a sushi master understudy for 20 goddamn years before you get your certificate. You were basically an apprentice for 20 goddamn years. And then you finally graduate. Talk about a long school term. Holy shit. He was telling me he started when he was 16. And at the age of 37, he finally was given his sushi master certificate. And then he got out of Dodge. He came here to work in his cousin's restaurant somewhere downtown Cleveland. I can't remember where. And he worked for his brother for 4 or 5 years. And he found out that Gigantic Eaglet's mega stores, like the one we've got, had sushi stands. So he bought one. And that's all he does from when they open in the morning until they close at night. But I'll tell you what, he's a He's a trip to watch. Especially when he pulls out that big samurai sword and cuts that sushi. Of course, you know, like I told him, I said, man, it's amazing how each piece is the same size. He says, when you do it for 20 years, you can do it by eye. And it's amazing because when he makes a roll and he cuts it, he stacks each piece on end, and they're all the same size. And the guy is amazing. Well, like I say, 20 years, he's got some amazing knife skills. Because he makes them, he'll take a piece of fish and make it look like a rose, a blooming rose. I was quite surprised that he said he makes a very good living. I hadn't realized there were that many people buying sushi. But he says he makes a good living. I gotta ask him if he's married. I never bothered to ask him. Because he tells me basically when he closes at night, he makes a bunch of takeout boxes and then he drops them at his brother's restaurant. I gotta ask him where the restaurant is. Yeah, he said he'll make up 30, 40 takeout boxes, and wherever the restaurant is, he said his brother sells every one of them. But to study for 20 goddamn years, that would get old after a while. Especially like around year 15 going, oh, only 5 more years until I graduate. Unbelievable. And then I was paying real close attention to when these little shops hard-boil eggs, and about 90% will poke a hole in the egg before they boil it. I happened to catch that today. This guy, he was getting ready to hard-boil eggs, and he had them in the egg carton, and next thing you know, he looked like a push pin. Ding, 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 and he was poking holes in each egg. And every shop starts with cold water. Now, I've been having excellent luck dropping them into boiling water. I think the next time I make hard-boiled eggs, I'm going to try their way. Poking a hole in each egg, starting it in cold water, and some of them put ice in. The only thing is, they set a timer, and you don't get, I've yet to catch how long they, because when the water comes to a boil, they hit a timer. That was the only thing I wasn't able to catch, was how long they boil the eggs. But I'm learning a lot. I'm going to try the old, when I make rice, throwing ice cubes into my rice steamer and see how the rice turns out. Also, I'm going to be washing it like they do until the water goes clear. And then there was one today. After he washed the rice, he poured it into a machine, and then it went through the machine and spit it into the bowl. And he said it was a rice sharpener. He was sharpening the rice. I never heard of a rice sharpener in my life. You know, Oodles, I tried a method. And as a matter of fact, Kathy did it. What you do is, first of all, you take the eggs and you bring them up to room temperature. Then you boil water with a cup of vinegar. And when the water comes to a rolling boil, you slowly add the eggs, and you go for either 3 minutes or 4. I have to look. And it was amazing. After 4 minutes, you douse them in ice water. And I'll tell you what, them eggs fell out of the shells. And Kathy tried it 2 or 3 times and had the same luck. She said out of a dozen, like only one screwed up. I have never had an egg where I cracked it and the shell fell off. Usually 80% of my egg goes down the drain because it sticks to the frickin' shell. But you start with them at room temperature. You bring water to a rolling boil. You put them in, I think, either 3 or 4 minutes. You douse them in ice water. And they peel perfect. Because I like to make pickled beets and eggs. Now, I've been watching this YouTube channel called Japanese Food Noodles. And I was just saying, I really paid attention today. 90% of the shops took like a push pin and poked a hole in each egg. Then they started it in cold water. And then they brought them to a boil, doused them in ice water, and the shells fall off. Because I'll tell you what, over the years, I have wasted more eggs. But doing the room temperature into boiling water and then ice water work perfect. Now this weekend, I want to make another batch of pickled eggs. So I'm going to try poking holes and then starting them in cold water, bringing them to a boil and ice water bathing them and see if they peel that way. I'm learning more cooking tasks watching this, although some shit I ain't gonna make. Like watching today. People eating for breakfast stewed pork intestines. Yummy. Or fried beef intestines. And they deep fry hot dogs for breakfast. Of course, like I say, when you grow up with it, so it's normal to them to eat this with a bowl of soup for breakfast. Saturday afternoon, I finally am going to be able to do a complete 360 around the Corvette. I got a phone call shortly before showtime. He's coming up Saturday around noon, and I'm going to be able to give it the old once over. It would be nice if we really knew what's wrong with it. But he said he's gone through every piece of paperwork his father had. No notes as to what was wrong with it when he bought it. His father bought it. They flatbedded it to the house, dropped it in the driveway, and the neighbors said they never heard it run, which could be scary. But it's a 39-year-old Corvette. I finally found out what year it was. It's an 87. I thought it was a 90s, although, what is that, the C4? The C4 went from like 85 to 98 or something with hardly any changes. But I thought it was newer than that. Yeah, it's almost 40 years old. And luckily, the son doesn't know a spark plug from an oil filter. So I'm planning on lowballing the shit out of this car. Although the first thing I would have to really do, once I know it runs and drives, is put a new set of tires on it. because it's probably sitting on 40-year-old tires. Although, who knows? I'll be able to find out how many miles it's got on it. I hope it's a manual. I really do. Oh, that'll really upset me if that thing's an automatic. Because 87 was the first year for the C4 convertible. They didn't make any in 85 or 86. And in 87, they only built about, I think, 10,000 convertibles. But I couldn't find out what the mix was versus automatic, and then to find out the thing's only got a 4-speed. They didn't put the 6 in until in the mid-90s. I was like, a 4-speed? Which means it's probably a goddamn close ratio 4-speed, which, I hate close ratio transmissions. It's an 87. It's sad looking. It really is. 90% of the clear coat is peeled off, and in some spots the red is peeled off to the point where it's primer underneath. And I think the top is white. It looks crappy brown. So Saturday I'm taking my camera with me. I'm going to get a shitload of pictures. Because 87, they only put one engine in. There weren't a lot of options. Yeah, I thought it was a 97. He said, no, it's an 87. But it's sad. I have the sneaking hunch that his father bought it, planning on putting a cheap paint job on it and flipping it. Although his father did some strange shit. But I'm hoping that mechanically it's okay. I guess I'll find out. Although GM engines are pretty bulletproof. The only thing that scares me is it might have that stupid crossfire injection engine, which those were known for problems. Oh, the old side pipe. Oh, God. Yeah, the old side pipe Corvettes. A neighbor of mine had a 63 split window with the side pipes. And his girlfriend refused to ride in it because every time she'd step out of it, she'd burn her fucking leg. Yeah, they were known for that shit. Like the Vipers. Anybody that owned a Viper burned their legs on them goddamn side pipes. But this 87's got the shit motor. Because in 87, they didn't offer the fancy Z motors, you know, the Z51, the Z71, those came in later. The only difference that I'm hearing is either the engine in this car is like 250 horse or 285 or something. The engines were crap in the earlier Corvettes. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Oodles, when I open the hood, and if I see crossfire injection, I'm closing it right back up and walking away from it. Because everybody's telling me you don't want to have that engine. And I have the sneaking hunch most of the engines in the 87s were crossfires. Another brilliant GM idea. Almost as bad as when my uncle had the Cadillac with the V8 6.4. And a lot of times, instead of starting with a V8 in the morning, you'd start with a V4, and you'd have to limp it to the dealership for them to put it on a computer to get it to come back to 8 cylinders. Another brilliant idea. Oh, let's have an engine that cuts out the cylinders while you drive. Oh, yeah, yeah. The old North Star. My uncle had one. It cost him $1,800 for a starter. Because you had to take the top of the engine off because the starter was down in the galley of the motor. Brilliant idea there, too. Yeah, let's hide a starter right in the middle of the engine. Yeah, you had to dismantle the whole top of the engine to change the starter. Yeah, GM off. I don't know what their engineers were thinking. They come up with the crossfire injection. They come up with the North Star with a starter buried in the middle of the engine. The V8 6.4. Of course, the converted gas block diesel. That was a real joke. Let's take a gasoline engine, convert it to a diesel. If it made it to 50,000 miles without blowing up, you were lucky. I'm trying to think some of the other real brilliant ideas GM had. I remember one year they had an electronically controlled Rochester 4-barrel carburetor, which they ended up pulling them carburetors and putting standard Hollies on. But Saturday will tell a story whether I'm going to make an offer on a Corvette or I'm going to walk away from it. I mean, I probably could pick the thing up cheap. I really could. Because it's sad. Oh, a guy I work with had a Cyclone. He couldn't keep tires on that thing. He would tromp on that son of a bitch, and they would just sit and burn. Because there was no weight in the back end. There was a guy, he lived a couple streets from me. He had an Impala, it might have been a 96, I'm not sure. And it had, God, I can't remember if it was a 427 with a 4-speed. And GM only built like 5 of them. Because he didn't realize how rare that goddamn car was until he sold it. And then he was like, what? Yeah, he had like 1 of 5. Because 99% of them had automatics. That's like, I know a guy, he's got a Pontiac Solstice with the big 6 and a manual. And they only built 2. With manual transmissions. They only built 2. And I know a guy that's got 1 of the 2. And he knows the guy that's got the other one. Oh, I'll tell you what, Honda built some mean engines back in the day. of course, look what, Honda built for their race team. But it was amazing some of the engines they put in street cars. Yeah, 9,000 RPM redline, holy shit. That car had to scream. That's like this 1.8 turbo in my Passat. It's supposed to redline like at 81 or 8,200 RPM. It would scare the shit out of me taking that thing up that high. I get nervous if I'm going over 4,000 RPM, let alone up in 8 grand. I'd be afraid I'd scatter that motor. But like a Volkswagen mechanic told me, every now and then you really got to blow them out. I said, well, blow it out, yeah. Blow it up, no. Because around between 4,000, 4,300 RPM, I can really feel that turbo spooling up. But until I got that car legal, I do want to take it out on the freeway. I really want to step it through the gears, but not till I'm legal. But yeah, Honda, they got some screaming motors in some of their... As a matter of fact, we have got... Because I ran across the guys last summer. They were up at the shopping plaza. There were 7 guys, and they're in a tuner club. And you ought to, oh my God, you ought to see under the hood of some of them cars. They have got big bucks in their motors. Matter of fact, the one has a clear plexiglass hood, and it's got more brass and gold and chrome and a big honking turbo. But every now and then they meet up at the shopping plaza and they show off their cars. And I was amazed. Oh, do you have a short throw shifter on it? I drove a Toyota Camry with the kid had a short throw shifter on it. A short throw shifter is fun because you're only moving it like an inch. Dink, 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 dink. Matter of fact, he had it set up as a drift car. Because right next to the shifter, he had a big handbrake sticking up. Every now and then I hear there's one that lives right up the corner of my street. And I could really, he pisses me off. Like 11:30 at night, he comes blowing through the neighborhood. And he's got to have a header on it and a high performance exhaust. It just frickin' rattles the windows when he goes by. Yeah, that shifter took a little bit to get used to, but boy, once I got the hang of it, because you only move it like an inch. It's unbelievable. You just dink, 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 dink. Like with my Passat, it's got a long throw between the gears. That shifter, just inch and a half. Dink, dink, dink. I was having fun driving it, and then the kid said, "Can I have my car back?" I said, okay. Oh, yeah, a sleeper. Pull up to some idiot in a muscle car, and then you leave him in your exhaust smoke, and he's like, "What the hell was that?" All he sees is taillights and exhaust smoke. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Hondas and Toyotas, it's amazing what they can do with them motors. Like I say, this club, every now and then they'll park their cars in the shopping plaza. And they all have removable hoods because all of them take the hoods off, and the engines are just amazing to look at. Not to mention amazing to listen to. But see, these are the kids that we were years ago. They're taking little four bangers and cranking out 300 horse with these little dipshit motors that are the size of a lunchbox that we were doing back when we were teenagers, you know. Not to mention they can play with the computer. You know, you can do a lot of that with a goddamn laptop. I mean, yeah, you know, you got to do a little building work on the engine, but we would be tuning them with cams and pistons and spark plugs, and they sit there with a laptop. Okay, make an adjustment here, make an adjustment there. Matter of fact, they were telling me they could play some games with my Passat, and I was like, motor's got 150,000 on it. I'd like to get at least 100,000 out of what's left of it. Because the one, he just lives a couple of blocks away. He told me, he says, yeah, I could play some games on my laptop and bump it up a little bit. Then, of course, you know, the other guys were going, well, you know, we could put a little bigger turbo on it and do it. I don't want to get a ticket. It don't look good on the back of a tow truck, guys. But yeah, it's amazing what they do with a laptop that we would have to do with cams and cam timing and valve timing. And they plug a laptop in and go, oh, look, we just got 70 more horsepower. Made 3 adjustments on a laptop. But boy, I'll tell you what, all of their cars sound mean. Especially the one that comes down my street at 11:30 at night. Plus, there's a kid just up the street from me. He's got a Subaru WRX STI LMNOP. That's a mean sounding car. Oh, God. That car sounds wicked. Because he just, I can't remember what exhaust he had. I ran into him the other day. He said he's got a Borla. He's got a catback Borla exhaust on it. And that thing will, I can hear him coming 5 blocks away. I'd love to have that thing though. Whoa. I wouldn't have a driver's license if I had that car. He's got some big bucks in that car. Special suspension. All kinds of shit. And a buddy of his has got a Mazda Miata that sounds wicked too. One car I always wanted. I wanted a Miata. And even scrap Miatas sell for big bucks. Especially the first generation. What you could do if you had money. But it's amazing what they can do with a laptop nowadays. To be young and stupid again. Be young and stupid and have the money to dump into a car today. But like I say, the kids today are like what we were back in our day, except they got more access to updated technology and if I won the lottery, I would go up the street and beg that kid to sell me that Subaru. As is. Because that is one mean sounding car. And I know he's got thousands into it. Of course, he's single, got a good job. puts his money in a car. Yeah, to be young and have money. Because I don't think they're making. Somebody told me they stopped making the WRX, STI, LMNOP, QRST. Because he's got the last one with the gold rims. And that was the way you could always tell the high performance hot rod, because they came from the factory with them special gold lattice rims. And I think they're making the WRX, but they're not making that high performance one. And it don't come with them fancy rims anymore. I have to look into it. I'll just ask him. He would know. No, I think I read where they stopped making the ultra high performance because it really wasn't selling. But he's got the one with the gold rims, because he told me that's how you could spot one a mile away. If it had the gold rims on it from the factory, it's the ultra high performance rocket ship. Well, it's 8 o'clock. I've got something to do. Oh, for anybody that was here last night, it was the neutral safety switch on the car, because I jumped it and the thing starts every time. So that's what it was. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the golfer. Yeah. Kind of a ridiculous price for a car that's the size of my shoe. But they're hot rods. The Golf R is a screamer. Now, see, the engine that's in my Passat is the same identical engine in the Audi A4. The guy at Volkswagen told me they're identical. But the Audi A4 is a little more of a hot rod than my Passat. But they're the same engine. Same engine, same transmission. Of course, that's why parts are so expensive. Because the part numbers are the same. Audi, Volkswagen. All right. I've got that errand I have to run.
That's it, I'm through.
So, everybody, thanks for being here. Tomorrow night we'll go back to regular length of time. But there's something I have to do between 8 and 9. And with that, thanks for being here. Oodles, good seeing you, buddy. pop in more often. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. And with that, everyone, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. See you, bye.